Hey, this is Lewis from Breakdance, and in this video I want to show you one of our best features, and that is our global styler. This is going to save you hours, days, weeks. It's going to let you get your entire site on brand in just a few clicks, including WooCommerce, including forms, text, buttons, basically everything. You can control it from one place. So this is basically a default Breakdance install. I have WooCommerce installed with some sample products. I've added a sidebar to the shop page, but otherwise it's just totally default shop page in Breakdance, default cart page, default account page, default checkout page. I haven't actually created these pages in Breakdance. As you can see, that Breakdance light is off. This is just the default. And I've added a couple pages here. I've added a headings page that has a number of headings and body text on it. I've added a buttons page to show off the primary and secondary button. And I've added a forms page with a contact form, a login form, and a sign-up form. And I'm going to use these to demonstrate how easy it is to get your site on brand in just a few clicks with the Breakdance Global Styler. So to get into the Breakdance Global Styler, you can do it from inside of Breakdance when building a page, or you can just go to the Breakdance menu and click Edit Global Styles. And the great thing about this is that in the Global Styler, you can actually click through your site so you can see all the different places where your changes are taking effect. So in global settings, you'll see colors. This is where we can create, default text colors, set a brand color. You see buttons, typography, forms, containers, code, other, and WooCommerce. Let's start off with our brand color. So let's start off on the shop page for WooCommerce. But I want you to also notice that we have some blue buttons here. We have blue buttons and a blue link in our forms. Our default brand color right now is blue. We haven't set it. Let's make it purple. So for the brand color, we're going to choose a nice purple here, and we're even going to set the brand hover color, make it a little lighter purple. And you'll notice now that all of our buttons here are the new purple we chose. If we go to the cart page, the links on the cart page have the correct color and hover color. The links in the cart, they're the new brand color. If we go to the forms page, our form buttons match the brand color. If you go to the buttons page, matches the brand color. Okay, let's go ahead and go into buttons. Let's go to primary. So our primary buttons are these solid buttons. You'll see a primary button here. You see a primary button. Well, these are secondary buttons. But if you actually take a look at the product, on the product page, you'll see a primary button. Let's edit the primary button style. Let's say we want to make primary buttons have rounded corners. All right, now that primary button has rounded corners. That primary button has rounded corners. All of our form primary buttons have rounded corners. Every primary button on the site is going to have rounded corners. When you add a new button element to your page, when you just go to the Add panel and add a button, it's going to have those rounded corners. Let's do the same for the secondary buttons. This is a secondary button outline style right now. Let's choose rounded corners. And there are other options. We could add icons to our buttons, effects to our buttons, such as transition duration, whether to scale and hover. Let's scale up our buttons on hover. So let's go to primary, effects. Let's add a 1.1 scale on hover. Let's go to forms, 1.1 scale on hover. In fact, let's do the same thing for our secondary buttons. Let's go to effects, 1.1 scale on hover. Let's go to the shop page. Now all of our secondary buttons have a 1.1 scale on hover. So that's how quick it is to get all your buttons on brand. You can get as fancy as you want. You can make gradient buttons here. So let's say we want our primary button to have a gradient. Let's go to primary and let's choose background. Let's go linear gradient. Let's choose a purple here, and then for the other stop, we're just going to choose a slightly different shade of purple, and let's give it a nice angle like that. Primary button, the gradient. Let's go over to the forms. Primary buttons have gradients. Let's go over to the cart. Primary buttons have gradients. We just made all of our buttons have gradients. Amazing. Secondary button, okay, I'll leave it no gradient for now. But anyway, that's the global button styles. It gets better. Let's take a look at global form styles. So on this site, we have WooCommerce, a bunch of WooCommerce forms. We got a checkout form. We have the cart. The cart's going to have these form inputs here. We have the coupon code field. We have our contact forms. We have our login, our sign up form. Let's just go to the form styles. Let's adjust the form field styles. Let's say we want to have a black border. So we're just going to do 1 pixel solid black. The style is going to be solid. Look at that. Now all of our forms have a black border. Let's remove that little radius from the edge of the field. So let's just do radius 0 pixels. And look at that. No radius on our form fields now. Right? We've styled all of the form fields. Let's go to the checkout page. We've styled all of the checkout form fields. Let's go to the cart page. All of the cart form fields, the coupon field. All of our form fields now have the styles we chose here. Let's adjust the size of these fields. They look a little big. Let's adjust the padding. Let's apply all and let's shrink it down a little bit. Let's go 8 on the top and the bottom, and then let's do 12 on either side. And now we have tighter form fields. And take a look. Our form fields have shrank here too. Everywhere we want the styles to take effect. Let's put them back. Let's do 14 on all sides. We can adjust the focus state. Let's say we want to do something fancy on focus. We want to add, well, we already default to a purple border, but let's say we want to make it a pink border on focus. There we go, pink border on focus. And let's add a little pink shadow on focus too. Let's add a shadow. Let's choose that same pink. Let's save this pink as a global color. So we'll just call this accent. And this is now a global color. It's going to appear in our palette here, and we can now use this color anywhere. So let's say we want to go to, what was I doing? I was doing the focus state for the field. Let's make that shadow pink. There we go. Okay, that's a little much. That's a little much. We don't need that much. We probably just need a small blur, and there we go. Much better. All right, now we got a pink shadow on our form fields. Okay, we've customized our form fields. We could customize the typography. We could customize a success message. Let's adjust the typography a little bit. Let's change those labels. Let's make it a bit smaller. Say 12 pixels, 13 pixel for the label, and 400 weight. All right, we've now customized all of our labels. Let's take a look at the WooCommerce checkout. All of those labels have the new styles, radio labels, everything. So a great way to get your site on brand quickly. Let's take a look at the global typography styles. So, of course, you can choose, all the normal stuff you'd expect, like heading font and body font. Let's spice it up a little bit. Let's use Source Sans Pro for our heading, and let's use Roboto for our body. In fact, let's use Roboto Condensed for the heading. All right, now we got our headings and our body text. Of course, taking effect everywhere. Let's set our base size. Let's clear out our form styles. And now we're just going to set our base font size. It defaults to 16, but we can make it smaller. And notice how that's making everything smaller or bigger, right? I'm making it bigger with the arrow key here. Notice how the headings scale appropriately. Let's make it 20 pixels. Our base size is 20 pixels. The font size of everything here has got bigger. And we can choose the ratio by which it scales. So do we want it to really get big faster, or do we want it to barely get bigger? Right, we can choose a ratio that works for us. Let's go to headings to actually see what's really happening here. Our base size is going to affect the body text. If we set this to 16 and then have a ratio of 1, everything is 16. So obviously you don't want a ratio of 1. If you have a ratio of 2, wow, that's probably way too much for most people. Let's choose a ratio of something like 1.4. That's bigger than the default. It makes that heading 1 very big. We can make it smaller. Something like 1.2 makes the heading 1 relatively normal size. Let's go with 1.35 for this site right here. And if you wanted to override the individual headings, you could do that. You could just go to Advanced, and you could choose a specific size for your body text and a specific size for your heading text. You could use certain font families for certain headings, certain font families for other headings. But this is good for now. And we can also create typography presets. Oh, also this ratio is responsive. So On mobile devices, we probably want to keep our body text a similar size so people aren't squinting. You know, you don't want to have to buy new eyeballs to read that. But headings, they could be a lot smaller on mobile. Let's take a look at this page on phone landscape, and we could definitely make the headings smaller, so let's adjust that ratio. Let's bring the ratio down to 1.19 or 1.2. And then on desktop, let's keep that ratio at 1.5. And let's say on tablet landscape, we could go with something like 1.4, and tablet portrait, something like 1.3. Well, now we're customizing the responsive behavior of our site in just a couple of clicks. Look at that cart totals heading. It's going to get smaller as we make the screen get smaller appropriately. All from one control, the ratio control. That's a super awesome feature. Okay, let's, we already took a look at form styles. Let's take a look at typography presets. So if I were to go into the builder, so I'm going to exit the global settings here, and I'm going to actually just go back to the builder. So I'll go to headings and text, and then I will open Breakdance. We could create a typography preset. So let's say we had this heading and we customized the size and the font and everything. Let's say we want to use some fancy thing like a Abaya Libre as the font. We want to make it 80 pixels, or let's say 100 pixels. And we want to make it 700 weight, which I guess is the default. Let's space those letters out just a little bit. And let's say we want to use this for a different heading or a different text. We could add some text. Well, how are we going to copy those styles over to there? What we're going to do is save them as a preset. I'll call this fancy heading. Save as preset. And now I can go to my text element, go to typography, and in presets, I can choose fancy heading. And my text element will automatically look like this heading. Of course, the color doesn't come through in the preset because you might want to have different colors. And by default, our text is gray, but we can go into global settings and make it all black by just going to text. Make the text black, headings, make the headings black. Same color. Let's adjust the line height of this preset. We'll find the preset in global settings in typography presets, and we can just edit the preset right here. So let's go to advanced, and this is way too much line height there. So let's go into line height, choose, let's do 1.2 EM. We got to go smaller. That's a weird font. We probably got to go even smaller than 0.1, huh? 0.9. There we go. That tightens it up nicely. It's a nice preset for a fancy heading. But let's clear that out. I want to stick with what we had originally, so we'll just clear all of our presets, and we're back to the way it was before. Okay, let's take a look at some of the other global settings, the WooCommerce global settings. So let's go back into browse mode so we can click around the site and see our WooCommerce store. Here's the shop page. Let's go to a product. Let's go to a product that's on sale. And here we have this sale badge. Well, we want to customize that sale badge. So let's go to Other, Sale Badge, and let's choose the brand color for our sale badge. And there we go. Our sale badge is now purple. And let's take the radius off it. No radius. There we go. Purple sale badge. And of course, that's also going to take effect on the shop page or anywhere else where those sale badges appear. If we want to customize only the WooCommerce forms without affecting our other forms, for example, maybe we want the checkout form to be a little bit different, we could go over to WooCommerce forms and we could just adjust WooCommerce, right? We could give all the WooCommerce fields a black background. I have no idea why you'd want to do that, but you can do it. We have granular control. So now you go to the shop page, the cart page, your WooCommerce fields have a black background. I'm going to clear that out because it's ugly. But anyway, you get the idea. We have global settings that let you get your site on brand in minutes. Global colors, site-wide color palette, styling options for the brand color, text, headings, links, and background color, right? Maybe we want to make the background white. I think it's much better as a light gray though. It's used, and that's the default, so we'll stick with that. You have your primary button styles, your secondary button styles. We get really fancy. We could add, icons to the buttons, effects to the buttons, gradient to the button, everything you need. We have our global typography styles, granular controls for all levels, body, all levels of headings, and links. We have typography presets. We have global form styles. for the spacing, the fields, the typography, the messages, the submit button. In fact, let's go back to forms. I just want to show that we can make all these submit buttons full width in one click, and we're done. Isn't that nice? Maybe we want our other buttons to have a radius, but not our form buttons. Let's go into style and just make our form buttons square, and our other buttons will continue to have the original radius. Containers, this is just your section width, default section padding, default column gap. I want to show the WooCommerce spacing. Let's go into WooCommerce and let's go to other and spacing. This also uses a ratio, just like the typography. So you can go ratio and it'll just all your WooCommerce spacing. You can set your base spacing. So I can make it relatively tight, base spacing like that, and then big ratio. You can also just control every WooCommerce gap individually, right? You can do small gap, standard gap, medium gap, large gap, extra large gaps, like that. So you can get your site to really look exactly how you want it to look from the global settings. And then if you want to build the pages out using the individual WooCommerce elements, you can do that. You can do that all you want and customize even further. But for most people, most of the time, the best way to get your site on brand is going to be to use these global settings. And the best part is you can do it in 10 minutes. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Go to breakdance.com for more information.